Hey, welcome to another edition of Local Focus. I'm your host, Sebastian Noel. I hope you had a happy Thanksgiving when this airs. I know, there might be a couple leftovers left in the refrigerator. I'm glad it's Christmas time almost because my producer Josh gets to wear his really ugly Christmas sweaters, or as he calls them, just normal sweaters. So he'll be rocking those. I want to give you an update quickly on some previous guests. Amaya Brown, a couple of games this week. A loss to LSU, so their first loss of the year. She played 9 minutes, 2 of 2 shooting, 4 points, 1 rebound, 1 assist. And earlier in the week, a win against Jacksonville, where she got in 19 minutes on 3 of 6 shooting, 8 points, 3 assists, 2 rebounds. So she's getting a ton of playing time at Florida State. If you go follow Florida State online, they do a really good job on social media. They have a ton of her on their social media, so she's fully immersed there. New Mexico Highlands, Jalen Domino Lovato, 3 points, 3 assists his last game. Marlon got in there, a couple of rebounds. Jordan Bird didn't play last week, some fumbling issues, so I think he's going to have to work his way back out of Rocky Long's doghouse right now. And David Cormier hasn't got in yet, so I think they might be doing the red shirt thing there at Air Force. I'll have to check in with David when I get a chance, but that's to keep you updated on some of our previous guests. And right now I want to bring in Alan and Colin Evans from Hope Christian. And Alan's going to be here talking about some money he's trying to raise on his GoFundMe for the UNMH Burn Clinic. Welcome, guys.
Thank you for having us.
And give us the rundown about this GoFundMe first, and then we'll get into the story a little later. But what's the reason for raising these funds here?
Right. So really, the UNMH Burn Clinic is the group that took care of me in the hospital in 2 weeks that I was there in the urgent care. And after in the 2 months, 3 months recovery time, and still to this day. And really without them, I couldn't be where I'm at. I couldn't be coaching youth sports in Albuquerque. I couldn't be coaching high school sports. I feel like my impact on the community would be minimized without their support and what they did for me in the time in the hospital. And from my experience, the UNMH Burn Clinic is one of those clinics that's rare at the UNM hospital because they don't see a lot of patients normally during the year. But as this time of the year picks up, as people turn their furnaces on and they turn their fireplaces on and they start heating their homes again in the winter, you see a lot more accidents related to burns, especially with young children. And that process becomes like very financially burdening on families and the burn clinic itself. So this idea was started just to raise money for them to be able to support families when they come in for either in-care clinic, lotions, creams, all sorts of stuff that goes into burn treatment, as well as survivor meetings that they host occasionally for burn survivors that are seen by the UNMH hospital, and just to be able to fund and help recover patients through this burn process.
Before we get to the actual fire and your experience, let's talk about your community involvement a little bit. You coach at Hope, multiple sports. Take us through that.
Right. So I started 2 years ago coaching basketball at the high school level at Hope. I mostly started with the C team with Kevin Yearout when he was a C team coach there. And then I stayed around and helped coach varsity through a state championship run that year. And then the next year I got involved with the football program. I was just a quarterback coach, kind of assistant offensive coordinator, working my way through the program, trying to understand how football works at Hope. And then the next year we started started basketball, and then basketball went to another state championship run. And I had that was when the accident happened, and then this year football happened, and I'm the offensive coordinator at Hope right now, so we're doing pretty good. So coaching at Hope's been a real blessing for my life and my family.
Colin, what's it like having your brother on the sidelines there?
He's a good help. Definitely a younger person, putting his feedback into us, and definitely helping us out with more of a social kind of understanding what Murph wants to get across in a more.
I feel like that was an age dig at Murph, right? Yeah. Both of our Hope guests have had their zingers at Coach Murph about his age. I love it. I love it. No, how has he helped you develop your game?
Definitely my shot. My dad coached me for most of my early age, and then Alan kind of coached me from middle school on to high school, and definitely helped me with my shot because he always had a good shot back in his day, and kind of helped me develop that and some dribble moves and all that. But definitely helped me more as a person, mature and grow up, and definitely make me the person I am today.
Now, Alan, I've been on record since we watch a lot of Hope, including the New Mexico games, and we see them some off season. So I'm one of the few that has seen you guys before basketball now, and I've seen Colin bulk up a little bit, and especially Johnny Nitafan. So I've been telling everyone that'll listen that Colin's going to be probably the best player in that classification that year.
Right.
And definitely the best big.
Right.
And so what should we have to look forward to in his development?
Right. I think Colin is one of those unique kids. Ever since I've coached him and I've been his brother my whole life, but coaching him in sports has been crazy to see him actually put the time in to be one of those kids that's good and to be mentioned and talked about. And I think what's cool about him is you'll see he's not one of those kids that is all about him and the hype's about him. We've talked on multiple occasions about how this is about winning 4 straight state championships while he's at Hope, and not really much more, just being the best basketball player he can, being the best teammate he can, and then just trying to get 4 straight basketball state championships while he's at Hope. So I think his work ethic is something a lot of people don't notice that goes into making him the player he is today.
All right, we're going to take our first time out. We're coming out on our first break here. But in the next segment, we will talk about that fire. We will talk about that entire experience and kind of get into that when we come back.
What is glamour? Frailty. What is desire? Diamonds. They say a life lived without passion is hardly worth living.
Ma'am? 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 Dang, this one made me feel all special.
Dreamstyle Remodeling has been wowing homeowners in New Mexico since 1989. Selected as Best Custom Home Remodeler for 3 consecutive years by readers of the Albuquerque Journal, we're also your exclusive provider for top home improvement brands like Renewal by Anderson, Four Seasons, Blaze King, and many others. Founded and headquartered in Albuquerque, Dreamstyle Remodeling is family-owned and now employs more than 500 people across the southwestern U.S. In fact, we've helped more than 60,000 homeowners improve their home in New Mexico, Arizona, California, Idaho, and West Texas. We're committed to providing a superior customer experience. We've earned 4.6 stars with hundreds of online reviews and have an A+ with the BBB. Dreamstyle Remodeling is a proud supporter of UNM Athletics. Visit our beautiful 10,000 square foot showroom at 1460 Renaissance Boulevard across from Sam's Club, or dreamstyleremodeling.com to make your home remodeling dreams come true.
Well, I'm going to the frontier, walk up to the cashier, order up a root beer and a number 1. Cover it with green stuff, 1 scoop is not enough. Find a booth is real tough, back by the Duke. Meet my family, meet my friends in the quirkiest restaurant I have ever been. All of Albuquerque's favorite spot, it's the Frontier Restaurant.
The Frontier Restaurant is a proud supporter of Proview Sports Network.
I'm back here with Coach Alan Evans of Hope and his brother Colin Evans. Alan's here to raise money for the UNMH Burn Clinic. So if you want to throw that up there one more time, Josh, we'll give our audience a look at where they can support that GoFundMe. But let's talk about the actual experience itself, Alan. Why don't you take us through that? Obviously, it was a big news story. It was on the news. I know it was covered in the journal, but take us through it.
Right. So we, my grandpa was replacing the wall thermostat in his house, and so my mom called me to go up and ask and give him some help because she was sick. So I went up there and tried to help him, and we got the new wall thermostat put on, and it seemed to be working fine. And I went to go turn the heat up like you were supposed to in the instructions, and then all of a sudden there was just fire that came from the floor, and I heard my grandpa yelling, "There's fire from the floor!" And I'm like, and I turn around and look, and I see this wall of fire come out from the floor where he's sitting at, and next thing I know, there's a big bang, and
So where were you at that point relative to him?
so there's a wall, probably like separated you distance from the actual furnace, and my grandpa's sitting probably 4 feet, 5 feet on across from another wall on your left. So we were separated by a wall. So I couldn't actually see him when that happened. But the explosion ended up knocking him into their kitchen, so a good 10, 12 feet into the kitchen, into the table. And then it knocked me probably 10, 12 feet down a hallway into a bookshelf. So the next thing I remember is I heard the bang, and then the next thing I remember is it's kind of like coming to, basically waking up, and just seeing fire everywhere. There was fire in the bedrooms, on the carpet, on the wood, everywhere in the house. There was a beam that separated the hallway between what connected me to the room my grandpa I thought was going to be in. So I said I had to find a new way to get out of here, that way I can go back to get him, because I couldn't crawl through the hallway or get through the hallway at all. And all the other rooms were on fire, basically. So I went into the one room, or one of the rooms in their house that didn't have carpet, so only the walls were pretty much on fire, and I was able to get the window open, jump out the window. I remember calling 911, and for some reason I didn't get an answer from 911. So I put my phone away, and I ran around. They had a deck that encircled their house. So I remember crawling underneath the deck because the heat from the building, the house itself was so hot that I was crawling underneath the deck to avoid the fire coming out from the house.
No, we should mention, and I think Josh has a photo of the house, courtesy of KOB, but this is in the East Mountains, right?
Right.
So if anyone that's lived in the East Mountains, or there's a shot, I don't know, how far away is that shot from, that's from KOB, that's got to be a neighbor or something, right?
That is about
Across the street.
Across the street, so
Okay.
100 to 200 yards away from the house.
But if you're familiar with living in the East Mountains or in any mountains, most of the time, that's a lot more conducive to burning than living in the city, right? Because everything's made of wood.
Right.
Then, of course, all the trees around.
Right.
So go ahead and pick up where you left off there.
Yeah, so the house kept burning, so I was crawling underneath the deck, which is just like you were talking about, basically mountain landscape underneath the deck to the front side of the house. And at that point is when I could hear my grandpa actually calling my name and saying, "Alan, where are you?" and come to get him. So at that point, I just decided, okay, I got to find a way to get back inside this house, because I figured maybe he might have made it out by then, but he hadn't. So
you're on the outside,
right,
looking at a house that's totally inflamed,
right,
and you can hear your grandfather calling you.
right.
So at that point, how did you get back in?
So I was at the front of their house now, and the walls were kind of leaning outward from the explosion that happened, and I tried to open the front door, which had a metal handle on it, and then I realized that was hot after I touched it, so I didn't do that again. So I ended up actually kicking the door, and it took me like 2 kicks, so 3 kicks actually. It's not like the movies where you just kick it and it falls in, but it took me a second. So I kicked the door in, and I saw him lying on the floor, and I didn't know if he was conscious or not conscious, so when I got there, I kind of just pulled him up underneath his armpits and dragged him outside of the house, and to put it in perspective, he was to the point where he didn't realize how bad the actual fire was from being kind of knocked out from hitting the table, that he was like, "Alan, there's a fire extinguisher in the house and we can put this out." And I was like, "No, we can't put this out." So I ended up getting him pulled out to the house, and then a neighbor actually came over and helped me get him away from the house in case of anything else happening, because up in the mountains you have your propane tank that runs to your house, which keeps your house warm, and with the propane furnaces and things like that. So I wanted to make sure we got far enough away from the street that in case anything did go wrong, we would be far enough away from that.
So at this point, your brother's a superhero, right? At this point, rescuing somebody like that. So that's got to be pretty cool from your perspective, right? So what happens in the aftermath? Take us to the UNMH burn clinic and
Right. So
take us through that.
the UNMH burn clinic is the Trauma One medical facility in the state. It's the only Trauma One medical facility in the state, and it's the only facility in the state that can handle 3rd and 4th degree burns as well. So if you have an accident like this and you get sent to UNMH. So I spent 14 days in the ICU at UNMH going through multiple surgeries, what they call debridement baths, where they take off burnt skin and things like that and help replace it with new growing skin. We go through hand physical therapy to make sure your hands can function like they normally do, so you can go back to doing everyday life, like brushing your teeth, tying your shoes. And then their big push is on getting you out of there, because their idea is okay, you can get healthier staying here, but the moment you go home is the moment you actually start mentally healing as well. So their big push is on getting you physically healthy enough to be able to put you outside or put you back home. And I think they do a tremendous job of both physically and mentally helping you recover from an incident like that. And they do really cool things. They bring in therapy dogs. They bring in people to talk to you. They let multiple people from my family come and visit at one time, where there's certain rules that hospitals have about visitors and guests, but they said that in cases like this, you need as much support and therapy and people you can get in contact with. So they let people stay till 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, come in as early as they want, just to be a part of that healing process. And so the UNMH Burn Clinic is probably one of the best groups of people I've met and dealt with, and just in their treatment of both me and my grandpa from that accident.
Now, Colin, correct me if I'm wrong, but this happened during the Joe Armijo tournament, right? Because I remember I had your game that morning, and that's how I heard about it, was Coach Murphy. How hard was that for you to concentrate on basketball when this was going on?
It was pretty weird, because that night I was close to the house, and then the next morning, then I sleep at a friend's house, don't go to bed till about 4, and wake up at 5 and go, or like 6 and go to the game, and it's at 8, and it's weird because you're just thinking about Alan, but you're at the game, and it's like, what do you think about? But I felt like I should have played. Like, if Alan was there and he was a coach, he probably would have coached the game, and I felt like I should go play the game for him, and so I did. And I kind of it was kind of a good break for me from not thinking about it, because I kept just relapsing about it, and I just got to play basketball for about an hour and then go back to Alan and help him out as much as I could. But I tried my best just to play for Alan and not worry about it, and then when I go back and just focus on him.
We have a picture, I think, of two of you guys now. This, I believe, is at Hope, so this was a little later. But so when did you get out of the burn clinic there, Alan?
So I got out. I went in the burn clinic on December 6th is the night that accident happened, and we left December 20th. And so that picture's from the Hope basketball tournament, and I think that might be after the championship game or one of those games. And so it was just a good moment to spend 2 weeks in the hospital, and then 3 or 4 weeks after leaving the hospital, come out and be able to coach your brother again, and be able to win something, and be a part of Hope, and be a part of my brother's life and the thing that we've shared for so long, which is basketball. And so that was huge for me. And from coming from a near-death experience to being able to go win and keep that winning tradition alive at Hope with your brother is a really cool thing to do.
Did that return to normalcy, return to hope, did that help your healing process?
Right. Yeah, no, it totally did. And coaching is one of those things that I've loved. I've always loved doing, but I never realized how important it was to me, how much the kids meant to me, and how much coaching my brother meant to me. It was going back to that, was like, wow, this actually helps me almost more than anything has helped me in the entire recovery process. It not only takes your mind off what happened and what's going to happen, but it helps you refocus that life is actually not all about you, even though some bad things happen to you, that there's other people out there who need you to help them along their path.
All right, we got to do a thing and pay some bills here. One more time out. It's our last one. We'll come back and we'll talk about some of the effects that are still going on today. And then, oh, by the way, Alan has a semifinal football game, and he's got to go coach in a couple hours. So we might preview that.
Sadie's is a proud supporter of New Mexico high school sports and athletics, and we here at Proview Networks would like to thank Sadie's for their continued support in helping us bring you all of your New Mexico high school sports coverage.
Don't sacrifice quality of flavor when you're in a hurry. Golden Pride offers ribs, fried chicken, green and red chili breakfast burritos, and Frontier Cinnabons. 4 great locations, or visit us online at goldenpride@abq.com. Golden Pride Barbecue Chicken and Ribs, proud supporter of Proview Sports Network.
Get into the game with Garden Swartz Team Sales. They have everything you need, from screen printing, embroidery, and digital printing services, high school letterman jackets, and all high school and club uniforms and individual and team apparel with the most reliable brands like Speedline, Rawlins, and Wilson. And don't forget to check out the latest F7 Shut helmet. It's all at Garden Swartz Team Sales. Give them a call, 505-884-1234. Garden Swartz Team Sales.
I know we have a couple of guests here in the studio watching, and Steve Davis, our president and owner, commented how, it's really hard to even tell the after effects. So what are you still dealing with today?
Right. So the effects of like burn victims, especially in my case, when you get 3rd and 4th degree burns, can go on a point of about 2 years for a full recovery process. So right now, last month I finished my last steroid injection procedure, which they inject steroids into scar tissue, and it helps break up scar tissue and decrease the amount of effects the scar tissue has on your body. So normally that just occurs in my hands. I have a lot of scar tissue left on my hands. It about covers the entire top of my hand from wrist to fingertip on both hands. The next step is looking for a facility that does laser scar removal, or the next stage of scar removal that the UNMH Burn Center doesn't have. But they've been great in getting us in contact with other facilities to do this treatment. So basically you do up to 10 rounds of laser scar removal surgery to help reduce the amount of scarring that you do have. So that's the next step and next process that we're going through to try to remedy all the scarring that's left over.
Now, Colin, Alan did tell me throughout all this he remains the better looking brother. Do you want to respond to that, or?
Oh, it's debatable. I gotta say that. I don't know. Most people tell us we kind of look alike sometimes, but I'm better looking.
Football game tonight. It's a big one.
Right.
All right. Man, where did these Huskies come from? I mean, because we're used to a basketball powerhouse.
Right.
But from the opening bell of the football season this year, they've been unstoppable.
Right. Really, I think it really started in March when we started our spring, and our goal was beat Portales, because Portales is one of those teams that's beat football for 4 to 5 years straight, and they're the program that we said, okay, we want to model ourselves like them and produce good football seasons like they do. And so beating them week 1 was huge, and then doing our Glorieta camp we went to Glorieta for 3 days and basically did 3 days at a camp, and that was huge, and it created a way bigger team morale than I've ever seen at a Hope football team. They were just able to actually help each other through 3 days of straight football in a place where there's not mom, there's not dad, brother and sister aren't there. You got to figure out how to do it on your own, and I think that's big for us. And so just being able with the coaches to produce a team like this has been a good thing for Hope.
Colin, is the student body as excited as they normally are for basketball right now for this football team? Because they look pretty unstoppable.
Definitely excited. It's cool to see my friends definitely see all their hard work rewarded with a good football season, because I know most of my junior class plays football, and it's cool to see them actually have a good season. Not like they haven't before, but definitely a more successful season, and get into a chance to win a state championship. And anytime anyone brings a state championship to Hope, it's a good feeling for everyone.
Now, is Coach Murphy going to have to make some room on that wall in the gym for a picture? Has he decided where that picture is going to go?
Right. No. I haven't really talked about it with Murphy. We're just taking it one game at a time right now. And tonight is Robertson, and they're pretty good. So goal's to win one game at a time and then hopefully win a state championship in 2 weeks.
Now, basketball has started, obviously. So what can we expect there?
Basketball, I think, is going to keep going with its hope ways. I hope we kids always work hard, and like Murphy says, the kids have bought into the goal is to play in that last day in March at the pit every single year, and I think basketball's on the right track to do that. I mean, we played spring and summer and did well and still working hard. The kids, I mean, they're dedicated to the sport. When you only get a couple weeks off from open gyms and games and competing, I think it really shows that they want to win another state title.
And I always hear that Hope kids play so much more during the off season than anyone else, right? They're always together. Coach Murphy kind of, has instilled that in the program. So, you see a lot of times after 4 years of basketball, some of those kids have the Hope burnout. They don't want to play basketball anymore, right? And there's some names you can go through that you're just amazed that they're not playing basketball, but they're just so much basketball.
Right.
How does Coach Murphy still relate to young kids and still get his points across? And are you a key to that? I mean, are you younger guys on the staff a key to that, or is he just? I mean, take us inside what we don't see.
Right. I think Murphy does a really good job of relating. He focuses a lot on real life situations and real life examples. So if somebody wants to show up late to practice, he talks about if you show up late to a job interview, what actually happens in the real world when that happens. And I think that's a huge part that a lot of people don't look at is the whole program focuses on more than basketball. They focus on religion and life and what happens after high school basketball ends. And I think that helps these kids. And I think he does a good job of relaying that sometimes to them. And then I know there are some things where younger kids want to talk to somebody who's been in that situation not too far removed. So I think it's helpful to say, okay, this is what Coach Murphy is actually trying to get you to do right now and get you to understand. And sometimes there's a lack of miscommunication, but there's a lack of miscommunication among all age groups. So I think it does help the program.
Now, Colin, a lot of Hope guys say they want a championship, but you started winning them as a freshman. That's pretty special. Not a lot of freshmen get to play. You look through history of some of Jim's programs, and just recently, Marcus Medina played all 4 years. I know Jordan Leak played all 4 years, but so you get there's a little higher echelon there when you can win one every year. Is that your goal?
Definitely. That was the goal since 8th grade playing high school on the C team. It was like, I'm gonna try to win 4. Like that's something that's like a special thing to do 4 in a row. It's pretty hard to do, and it'd be a cool thing to accomplish.
What's the difference now? I can remember talking to Coach Murphy when you were a freshman, and in his little I can't do his voice. Do either of you guys do an impersonation?
No.
That's too bad. But in his voice, we got this Evans kid. He's going to be real good. From that to now, I think you're going to be a focal point and an absolute powerhouse on the team. Talk about your development. And is your name going to be up on that wall? I know there's a lot of stats on that wall. Where are we at progress-wise there?
I'm definitely I'm where I should be to get on the wall for sure for rebounds and points, and it's just where do I want to get on that wall? It was up to me. So, and development-wise is just I think from freshman to sophomore year, just like I need to step up. Like this, I don't have seniors just kind of carrying me along. I need to help out and actually do something and create my own shot and not just let people pass to me. It's like I need to step up now.
Alan, as we close here, we have about a minute left. What are some of the names of some of the people that you'll never forget that helped you at the burn clinic?
Dr. Eugene Wu is the primary physician for the UNMH burn clinic, and he's an instrumental guy in changing people's lives when they get in there through that burn clinic. And honestly, the entire nursing staff at UNMH that handles burns was completely incredible in the way they handled my family and handled me and handled my grandpa. Handling 2 burn victims at one time from the same family is a drain on both the nursing staff and the doctors, and you could see it, but they handled everything extremely well.
Well, thank you guys so much for coming in. I wish we had more time, but you got a football game to go, Coach, right?
Yes, sir.
And I'm sure Coach Murphy, has you doing something to get ready for another state title. So I want to thank Alan and Colin for coming in, and thank you for watching another episode of Local Focus.